Hello, my name is Mike Ignatoski, the creator of the BlueLynx hockey spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to help you conveniently manage your tabletop hockey league project, including the standings, the schedule, but most of all, the player and team stats for your entire league. BlueLynx was created to help you get more enjoyment out of your tabletop hockey projects by giving you more time to play the games and look over the stats instead of painstakingly calculating them and entering them into a spreadsheet. In this video, we're going to cover how to create a historical team season league in the BlueLynx spreadsheet. The BlueLynx spreadsheet has the ability to create three different kinds of leagues: historical team season, historical league season, and custom. And this video is just about the team season. And what that means is it's one year and one team in that year, like the 1998 Detroit Red Wings. That's a team season. So let's see how to do it. When you open up your spreadsheet for the first time, you'll see this welcome screen, and you're going to want to do one of these first two things. And if you're just starting out, you're going to want to pick this green button, which is Create a BlueLynx League. So we'll do that. And this bumps us over to this league help sheet, which we'll cover in a second. But one thing I do want to say before we get into it is this video also assumes that you've already downloaded the spreadsheet, the BlueLynx spreadsheet that I'm running right now, as well as the kind of accompanying hockeyreference.com data file that has all the historical hockeyreference.com data in it that the BlueLynx spreadsheet takes advantage of for these historical leagues. So there's a different video on how to get get the BlueLynx spreadsheet and this data file. So if you don't have that, you want to watch that video first. But let's carry on here now, and assuming that you have those files. So this is, like I said, this help sheet that really just helps gives you guidance on how to create these different leagues. And this kind of tells the same thing of what I just said about the different types of leagues. So here we are. We're going to be kind of in this column, historical league season. Here's what mentions the name of that hockeyreference.com data file. This says data 1. It'll change as time goes by as I update it with newer data and maybe expanded data, but it'll be BL Hockey Ref data something. That's what you want to use. You want to use the most recent version, whatever that is. But let's get here to number 3 where it says go to the league tab. So let's get there. So on the league sheet, first of all, it looks a little, I'll say unorganized, and in some ways it is, but it works. I'll say throughout any of these BlueLynx videos, I may accidentally say Green Fox instead of BlueLynx, but it's not intentional. But I may refer back to Green Fox, which is the baseball spreadsheet that I created first, and this takes advantage of a lot of those features and functionality that existed originally in the Green Fox baseball spreadsheet. And this league sheet is pretty much exactly the same as it is in baseball in the Green Fox spreadsheet. So for better and worse, it works the same way. So for this example, I'm going to choose the 1980 New York Islanders as the team season that I'm trying to create for my league. And like this box here says, start here. So step 1, it says select the league mode. Here's the mode. Also, any one of these cells, in any of these spreadsheets that has a little red triangle in the corner means it has kind of like hover tip information there. So that is typically helpful. So if I were to hover on these, see, it'll tell me certain things in here. And it might even say Green Fox if I look look closely. But the idea is that it tells you some info to help guide you along. But anyway, on this mode, so here's where it's talking about these different types of leagues that we already talked about. We're going to pick this number 1 here. So in this yellow box, if I click, you'll see this little drop down arrow, and that's where I got to pick my league type. So I will pick this HTS, historical team season. And when I do, it'll then give me this little prompt that says what year or season do you want, and enter it in the yellow cell. So this right up here. And when I click OK, this is where I'm going to need to have that hockey reference.data file sheet open. I should have said I already have it open. So let me bring that sheet over here. So this is that BL hockey ref data sheet. And you have to have it open, but you don't have to really do anything with it. But it just has to be open so that the BlueLynx spreadsheet can essentially talk to it. And just a kind of quick peek in here, so this is just a little acknowledgement that this data it contains came from hockeyreference.com, which is much appreciated. And then there's some tabs down here. You can see this HRs for hockey reference and this year team. This just has all the teams, and currently this one has from 1950. You can see all these teams, and once you get down here you can see it also says kind of these codes for what division they're in or what conference. So let's see, like, oh, they're in the Prince of Wales Conference, the Norris Division for these Hartford Whalers of 1980, etc. So this is, useful information, and that's just who the teams are. It also, so I should say, it has 1950 to up through the 2024 is what it has right now, but I would hope to update at least each year so it'll have the newer year. And then on the roster tab, it has what you think it had, which is the rosters. This is looks like it's filtered right now. I should undo these filters, but anyway, this has 50 or 60,000 names in here with all these rosters from all these teams from all those years. 75 years of hockey, NHL and WHA. And then these are all the schedules for all those years. So again, you don't have to mess with this at all. Just have it open so that BlueLynx can find it. So I'm going to just minimize this. So now, like I said, it said enter the year in this. So I'm going to go up here and enter my year 1980. Hit enter. And assuming that it works, you'll get the list of the teams from that year. And these are all the teams that it read from that hockey reference spreadsheet. And then it gives you the next prompt, which says select your desired team from the list of teams. So, do I want the Rangers? And then it says click the big purple button to load the data. But if I say, oh no, I want the Islanders, you can change your answer is what I'm getting at. And it says, it'll ask if I want to use the Islanders, and I do. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with that answer. It says click the big purple button, basically to load the hockey reference data. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do is click this big purple button. And this gives me a little warning that it might take a minute or two, so be patient. So this is going through some Excel backflips. But essentially what it's going to do is go in there and find the 1980 season, copy the teams, copy the rosters, copy the schedule for the Islanders. And then hopefully we'll get a message like this that says success. This historical data has been populated into these different worksheets. League, MPL, that stands for Master Player List. Rosters, and the schedule, which is the name of the sheet is called the SCAD or SHED or however you want to call it, but you can see it down here. So it mentions, take a brief look at it and make sure there's basically stuff in them. Then it says now you can click the black Validate League Settings button on the league sheet. That's right up here, this black button, to help guide you through the remaining steps to configure your league. Okay, so let's we will take a peek at these couple sheets here first. So if we look at this schedule, you can see here it says up here there are 80 scheduled games. So this should be all the Islander games. And there they are. A couple things I'll note here is it shows the actual game that was scheduled. This game ID is generated by BlueLynx. It's a unique identifier for each game. It has a little format you can kind of see of this. I think this first number here is if you, in the entire 1980 season, this would be game 521. But that doesn't really matter. But it also kind of shows, who's playing whom. It's always visitors versus home, I think. Oh no, this is home versus visitor. Sorry. But in list the teams. Each team's got an ID, or kind of an abbreviation. And then over here toward the end is the actual historic or as played score for the game or outcome. So it doesn't really use that, but it's there kind of like for your information. You might want to use it. The other couple sheets there was the rosters sheet. So here's the rosters. Has all the teams. You could use these filters if you wanted to look at somebody specifically. The MPL, which stands for Master Player List, and this kind of the Master Player List in these leagues, it's almost the same as the rosters, but what it contains is a unique list of players. That's what it really comes down to. And up here it'll tell you how many. I kind of refer to them as lineup names. How many players are in this league that played that year in the NHL was 654. And you can see here like Ivan Boldarev in this multi-team list column, which is just kind of informative really. And this means he started off with the Atlanta Flames but finished with Vancouver Canucks. And so in the master player list, he's only listed for Atlanta. They're always listed with their first team. But if I go to the roster sheet, and if I can kind of use this little thing here to find stuff in it, if I look for Ivan Boldarev, you'll see he's on both teams because he played for both teams, and that's okay. So in something like this, or in these kind of historic leagues like that, some players will be on the rosters of both teams, and that'll be up to you to know when you want to play somebody. BlueLynx does not try to figure out when somebody got traded. It doesn't have that information. So it doesn't know when, Ivan Boldarev should be on the Flames or on the Canucks. That's up to you to figure that out or to manage it however you want to do it. So that's that. So that's kind of just looking at showing what it automatically loads. Typically, you just got to glance here and make sure that there's data here, and it should be good. But now let's get back to the league thing and figure out what we got to do next. One other thing I should mention regarding the historical team season here, related to the data that it loaded from the hockeyreference.com, is on the rosters, because I'm going to be playing the Islanders, so I'm going to use this team ID filter here to find my New York Islanders and just pick them. And so here to list all the guys that played for the Islanders that year. And depending on your game, you may or may not have all of these players in your game. In all likelihood, you probably don't. There might be some you don't have. And you can either remove them here, but you don't have to, or you know, or you can. And because BlueLynx does not load starting lineups for games, so it's not like I said, in the Green Fox baseball sheet, it knows who the starting lineups are, so you can't delete anybody from a historical league because if they started in a game or in a game, that'll kind of break things. So um, anyway, if you wanted to uh, remove somebody from a roster, from a historical roster, you can. And if you hover on, you can see if you hover on this, it'll say one unlocked, you know, and before leagues is still like basically being created, you can double click this column to delete a player. You'll be prompted to confirm it, and but once it happens, you can't undo it. So you see here where it says it's locked. So if I look at this, let's just look at this roster. I'm going to say this Garth McGuigan guy I don't have in my game, whatever that is. So I'm going to unlock this. So now it tells me they're unlocked and it tells me about how to delete a player. Now if I go over to Garth McGuigan and delete in this column here and double click, it'll prompt me. Do I want to delete Garth McGuigan? And I'm going to click yes. So it removed him. And you could do it for whoever else you want. I don't know who all, really is. I should delete or not, but I just want to kind of show you that as an example. But you could pare this lineup down if you only have 24 guys, then maybe you want to just get it down to the 24 you have because that way it won't the other players will probably just get in the way. You'll just ignore them anyway. What another way to do it would be instead of deleting them, you could just change their position. In here, I could say, all right, instead of this, let me try to find somebody else. Mike Kosicki guy. I don't. Well, he played for a few different teams, but let's just say Mike Horty, whoever this guy is. Instead of deleting him, I might just change this primary position to X. This doesn't really affect the game much at all, but it shows in a few places. And one of the places it shows is when you want to bring in a substitute, it'll show their position in this way. This guy you wouldn't have in your starting lineup, but if you want to show your kind of quote who's on your bench, and when I say bench, it doesn't really mean the bench during the game. It's more like who's on your roster that you could put into the game before it starts. Who would you put? Who'd be one of the 20 guys you dress for the game? And if I put an X here, that would be a way when it lists these players, it would show their position, and when I could just say, oh, if I see an X there, it'll help me know that I don't have this guy in my game, so never put him in the starting lineup. So that's just another way to do it. So I'll leave it like that so I can show you that later. So anyway, now I need to lock this again so I can move on with my league. So I'm going to say validate and lock. And what it's doing behind the scenes is I'm going to make sure that basically that everybody's got, everybody's team is legit and things like that. Okay, so now it says it's good. And the main thing here is it says if your rosters are done, go back to the league sheet and click the validate league settings to continue configuring your league, which is the same thing it kind of told us a while back. So that's what we're going to do. Go back to the league sheet and carry on. Okay, here we are back on the league sheet, and we're ready to move ahead with doing this validate league settings. So this black button. So I'm going to click the black button here for my 19, and I get this error talking about the league ID length, and that's because here's the league ID up here, and it's basically empty. So let me go up here. I'm going to name my league my 1980 Islander replay. And then the ID, you really don't see that anywhere, but it's kind of just under the hood, so I'm just going to call that 1980 ADNYI for the New York Islanders. And now I'll just click this validate league setting buttons again. And this time it's going to do some classic Excel backflips here. And you can see now it's going to show me the standings and say that the standings are all good. If I wanted to change something here, I'd basically have to kind of start over. I'll say okay. Then hopefully you'll get this success message that says your league looks valid, and your next step is to lock your league settings. And when I lock, means certain things that can't be changed once you lock your league, like how many teams you have, their names. Each team has an ID. You can see here it's all the team IDs here. And you can't take players out of the league. You're able to add a player to a league, but you can't take anybody off a league or remove them, because what if they have some stats? You don't want to be taking those stats away. And you can't change the standing structure. And I say that if I go to the standings. Oops, I can't look at that. But what that means is you can't have a team switch divisions or conferences or something like that. So that's what that's trying to say. But anyway, we're going to lock these league settings. I need to fix this up because this looks like it's some Green Fox baseball stuff I didn't take out that I got to fix. But anyway, I'm going to say, do I want to lock my league settings? Yes. And now it just says, great, your league's looking good. You click OK, it's going to try to configure the score sheet now. So then it jumps over to the score sheet and it changes it over here. This is a score sheet mode. And we probably didn't notice, but when it first started with this welcome screen here, the league mode was question mark league, or league question mark, I forget. But now it's league HTS. It's officially in historical team season mode because we configured this historical team season league. So that's what it's telling us now. And now it's doing a few more backflips. It's telling us that when you want to load a game, and here you click the game ID. And I think we're at nearly the end, and it's telling us to create a default starting lineup for each team in a league that's used when you load a game into the score sheet. And you can always modify it before you start playing the game, but it's just your default starting up to 20 players for your team. And to do this, it says go to the league lineup sheet. It maybe should go there automatic, but it doesn't. So I'm going to go down here and I can find the league lineup sheet, or you can use this BlueLynx navigator button here. This is a way to get around on all the different sheets. So if I use that, I can go to league setup. And there's my lineups. Or I can also go right down here and click on the league lineup. But I'm not going to go into all the league lineup stuff here. I'm going to put that in a separate video. But basically, that's the end of completing the setup for a historical team season. Now, I would say there are basically 3 more steps before you can really start playing your games. Once you've got your basic league defined, and that's true for whatever league you're going to set up. That's step, I guess I'll say step 2. If step 1 is getting the program and getting the hockeyreference.com data sheet, if that's step 1, step 2 is configuring your league, which we just did. And I would say step maybe 3, 4, and 5 would be 3 being set up your lineups. And we'll go through how to do that in another video. 4 is optional, but I highly recommend it, which is assigning your team's colors for your league. And the 5th one would be figure out what stats you're going to keep in your league, especially at the individual level, and we'll talk about that in another video. So that wraps this up on how to create a historical team season. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. And like Red Green says, keep your stick on the ice.